Cavite Mutiny, second-hand accounts. Today, we will discuss about what happened in Cavite Mutiny. Second-hand account written by Trinidad H. Pardo de Taviera and Pedro Paterno. Pardo de Taviera was a Filipino physician, historian and politician of Spanish and Portuguese descent. He was known for his writings about different aspects of Philippine culture. Pedro Paterno was a Philippine politician and famous for being a turncoat. He was also a poet and novelist. At Salamanca, he took courses in philosophy and theology, while at Madrid, he graduated with an expertise in law. Their intention producing such source is to clarify what happened in the Cavite Mutiny. The Cavite Mutiny written on January 1872, and the account of Pardo de Tavera was originally written for the official report of the census of 1903 as part of a general survey of Philippine history.
Tavera believed that the Spanish friars and Izquierdo used the Cavite Mutiny as a powerful lever by magnifying it as full-blown conspiracy involving not only the native army but also included residents of Cavite and Manila, and more importantly, the native clergy to overthrow the Spanish government in the Philippines. Historical source written in Cavite Mutiny on January 20, 1872. Brief uprising of Filipino troops and workers at the Cavite Arsenal, which became the excuse for Spanish repression of the embryonic Philippine nationalist movement. Ironically, the harsh reaction of the Spanish authorities served ultimately to promote the nationalist cause. Pedro Paterno, 1858-1911, is widely regarded as a traitor to the Philippine nation. That reputation has its origins in his role in the negotiation of 1897 Pact of Biak na Bato between the Philippine revolutionaries and Spanish, under which the former agreed to abandon their struggle and collaborate with the colonial administration. A very valuable contribution to the Philippine historiography was his study of Father Murillo Velarde's map of the Philippines, published in 1734, which was the first detailed map of the archipelago, notable for its accuracy and neatness. Its engraver was a Filipino, denoted Nicolas de la Cruz. Trinidad Hermenegildo Jose Maria Juan Francisco Pardo de Tavera y Goricho, 13th April 1857 to 26th March 1925. Was a Filipino physician, historian, and politician of Spanish and Portuguese descent. Trinidad is also known by his name Th. Pardo de Tavera. Was known for his writings about different aspects of Philippine culture.
During the Spanish era, Pedro Paterno published many works purporting to be historical, but the great majority of them dealt rather with the pre-Hispanic period of Philippine history. Number 3. Cavite Mutiny happened in Port San Felipe and Cavite. Brief uprising of 200 Filipino troops and workers at the Cavite Arsenal, which became the excuse for Spanish repression of the embryonic Philippine nationalist movement. Ironically, the harsh reaction of the Spanish authorities served ultimately to promote the nationalist cause. Evidence: Mabini devotes one chapter of this posthumously published work, La Revolución Filipina, to our subject, Cosa y Efecto de Iuson de los Padres Burgos Gomez y Zamora. Mabini makes no claim to have had first-hand knowledge of the events, but without taking any positions on the cause of the revolts, state clearly that the three priests were innocent of it.
It was used by their enemies, principally the friars, from the context, but supported by the government, to bring about the execution of those three men who were martyrs to justice. The foregoing analysis of these early accounts of the Cavite Mutiny would seem to lead to the following conclusions as to reliability of these sources and the relationships existing among them. There are only three certainly independent major versions of the events which deserve serious consideration: those of Montero y Vidal, of Rigodor, and of Pardo de Tavera. If it could be shown that Platchut was actually present in Manila in 1872, perhaps his account could be included for the little it might contain independent of Rigodor. But there is nothing to indicate that he actually was in Manila in 1872, and everything solidly reliable in his account can be found in Rigodor.
2. Only Montero remained fully and official thesis that Mutiny was part of a larger revolt aimed in the independence. The other deny it through Rigidor and Pluckwet have certain apparent contradictions on their explanations, as well the numerous highly improbable details and dialogue. 3. The partial account reproduced in pastilles and less clearly. That of the Govantes reject Montero's fully position without clearly giving complete support to the contention that nothing more than for local mutiny was involved. Number 4. The account of Pablo de Tavera, presiding from the emotional but anti-fair tone that pervades it, give the evidence of being the most reliable even through fairly general account except for its failure to recognized that De La Torre had also been suspicious of the Filipinos reformists. That of Montero, apart from the anti-Filipino con that its supposition of revolutionary conspiracy, contains the most detailed and to all appearance most reliable account to the actual course of the revolution itself, well as execution of the three priests.
The notion of deliberate and concerted friar conspiracy to provoke a revolt which would enable them to eliminate their enemies comes solely from Regidor, whose descriptions contains clearly false assertion. The story such a provocation was carried out by means of a friar impersonating Burgos is first found in the torture-extorted confession of the friar executed at the orders of Bonifacio in 1897. This latter confession is clearly in contradiction with Reader at several points. The lack of reliable basis for this allegation against the friars does not, however, necessarily invalidate the more general assertion of Pardo de Tavera that a large group of conservative Manila Spaniards, including many more friars, were suspicious of the Filipino priests and other liberal reformists from the time of De La Torre, and were quick to make the Cavite Mutiny and revolution aim independence, and even to the favor drastic punishment meted out. All of those existing, the account of Artigas combines the maximum of information, documentation, and detail with at least a minimum of critical treatment of his sources. However, depending as heavily as he does on region, and having made use of such other unreliable sources as the Peña Vieja y Chigoyen accounts, and falls far short of providing a fully reliable treatment the events of 1872. Useful as it is in the absence of any satisfactory account, it can only be employed with any sure by the historian who is aware of Artigas' own sources and their value. The evaluation and indication of this article are intended as aids to the use of these published sources. But as is obvious, even after evaluating them, they must be used in conjunction with documentary archival sources to arrive at any more complete and reliable historical picture. If the failure to locate the records of the trial is a serious loss, still there remains a rather large amount of documentary material which has either been published in recent times or the existence of which is known or hinted at in various publications, which should make it possible to obtain a more critical and satisfactory